Hare Krishna, my dear friends. All glories to my spiritual master, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So we're continuing here with our series on Krishna consciousness. My name is Mahashakti Das. I took initiation from His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, back in 1972. And I've been practicing Krishna consciousness steadily ever since. And the purpose of our talk today is to acquaint people with the process of Krishna consciousness, to encourage people to take up the process, and to give an idea of what to expect. I can't do it all in just a short video, but I hope to give some of the highlights of the process of Krishna consciousness. And if there's any questions or comments, please leave them in the video at the bottom. So when Srila Prabhupada first came to America in 1965, he gave us the process, which is quite simple. Temple worship, hearing and chanting, going on Harinam or going on Sankirtan with instruments. And most importantly, in my opinion, is chanting japa. So these are japa beads, 108 beads. You know, japa is our bead bag. Put our finger in here. Oops, there we go. Picture Prabhupada. And every day you go around on the japa beads, they're called japa beads, and you're chanting basically for yourself. It's a type of meditation. Instead of sitting and not saying anything, you're chanting the names of Krishna, the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And you're chanting the mantra on each bead, and then you're moving your fingers along. So you're staying awake and attentive, and there's so much potency in chanting on each beat like this, because you're repeating the mantra, the name of Krishna, over and over and over, and it's so powerful. It is the essence of all Vedic Dharma, Vedic knowledge, Vedic wisdom, the most potent of all names in the Vedas, Krishna's name. So the first thing we want to establish, therefore, is that, yes, I want to be a bhakta. I want to be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Somehow or other, we've heard or read books of Srila Prabhupada. We might have met devotees or others who are practicing Krishna consciousness. And we think to ourselves, yes, I've always been looking for God. I've always wanted to be a God-conscious person, but due to lifestyle and things like this, I haven't been able to really devote myself, or I've had a practice, it's not working out too well. It's hard to accomplish meditation. So you've looked around and you've come across the Hare Krishna movement. Maybe some doubts in your mind. You know, I don't think I could wear the robes that they do, the markings. I don't think I could go out and street Sankirtan and chant in the streets. I couldn't shave my head. So you may have some doubts. Krishna consciousness is really simple. And it's something you can do really in your home. What Prabhupada has taught us is you don't have to live in a temple in order to execute Krishna consciousness, although it's great if you can, because of the association, the regulation, and the constant attention to spiritual life. But it's not expected that the whole world is going to live in 100 temples or 1,000 temples. What's expected is that you're going to take up the process if you do, and you're going to execute it at home. So what's important is how you set up your home. You definitely want to have a set of deities of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Radha Krishna, whatever your comfort level of devotion is. You want to have deities in your home, an altar where you are offering your meals to your deity, where you're offering incense, candles. They become the center. You need this. You want to feel that the deity owns your home and that they're in charge and that you are the property of the deity. And then especially, you want to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra on a daily basis. So that the altar in your home is meant to center everything, because otherwise you are overwhelmed with this idea that the house is mine, everything is mine, the car is mine, the bills are mine, my wife, my husband, it's all mine, everything's mine, and you can't get out of this rat trap of thinking. But as soon as you install the deity in your home, you now have a purpose, you have changed your proprietorship over to the deity, and you can build on this mentality all day, every day. You have always a deity to rely upon, and that mentality begins to affect your whole life. You start to get centered. You start to things that are extraneous or unnecessary start to fall away. You don't go visit clubs. You don't go to horse races or gambling or go off to do waste your time on sports. You could clean your home because it's the home of the deity and you want the deity to live in a beautiful home, a nice clean place. You like to prepare nice food stuff for the deity because you're developing an attraction, an attention, a love for God this way. And it blossoms after a while. In the beginning, it may seem a little uncomfortable because what you're doing is you're transferring everything from your mundane mentality to a spiritual mentality. So there's a little bit of a transformational period that you go through, but this is really the right path for a human being. It's extremely purifying, extremely joyful. If you're not becoming purified of your past karma through the practice of Krishna consciousness, you're never going to be happy. It's impossible. Your mind is filled with karma. It's filled with reactions. You cannot be comfortable, happy, or peaceful. You need to clear away karma. And the only way to do that is by focusing your attention and your activities on God. There's no other way to do it. And the actual reason why we have karma to begin with is because we don't have attention on God. We have decided willingly to put our attention on sense gratification, things that are going to please me. So this is the cause of karma. As soon as we reverse that by making Krishna the center, karma disappears gradually, very, very clearly. It disappears. So it won't disappear if you're not steady in your chanting and steady in your Krishna consciousness. If you take up the practice of Krishna consciousness intermittently, it just won't do much for you. It will do something, but not in this lifetime. You'll have to come back again to become serious about it. So the books, the practice, the beads, all of these things are available for someone who is serious about knowing and feeling God's presence. But you have to put in the effort. Krishna is not going to put the effort in. You have to put the effort in. You have to say, I want this. I want this. And so you start off with a vow. I'm chanting. I'm going to chant every day. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting my chanting in. If I don't get it in, I'm going to do it tomorrow, finish it up tomorrow. Don't make excuses for your spiritual life. Excuse me. You really, and there's going to be a certain amount of effort and pain, if you will, not real pain, but it's difficult to control the mind. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's no question the mind wants to wander in the beginning stages more than ever. But if you continually chant a prescribed number of rounds per day, you will get used to the chanting. And the chanting will become very comfortable, very pleasing to you. And after a while, you will love it. You absolutely love chanting. It will not be a problem. At that point, your karma and your reactions are pretty much nullified. They've become nullified. In which case, you're going to start to feel some really deep peace and happiness, along with knowledge and detachment. All of these things are part of the practice of Krishna consciousness. And so what's really interesting is you'll begin to realize that you're doing the most important thing possible. There's nothing more important in your life than executing your spiritual life. Because it will reinvigorate you spiritually. It will get you off of the unnecessary plane of material existence, the bodily plane. You'll be higher than your own body. You'll separate from your body. You'll actually experience your own self and Krishna separately, both you and Krishna. And you'll begin to realize that what you're doing is so important, because not only is it going to affect you in this life, but it will also affect your next life. Because the goal of Krishna consciousness is to develop an attraction and a love for Krishna so that we do not come back again to take a material body. We will advance ourselves. We will evolve ourselves to the point of taking our birth, our next birth, in a spiritual body, if you will, and associate with Lord Krishna. That's the next step. That is exactly the progressive step in Krishna consciousness, which I will now talk about. But we will not get to that stage of emancipation and devotion if we're not steady. And remember that this chanting on your beads is probably the most important thing of the entire practice. It's easy. It doesn't require anything more than beads and your time. It will take between 1 and 2 hours to chant the number of rounds prescribed on your beads per day. And that's very little to ask for at a 24. That's very little to ask. If you will do 1 to 2 hours a day of chanting on your japa, you will eventually fall in love with Krishna, step by step by step. Each step is delineated in our scripture. There's steps that you attain by chanting, and you will definitely attain these steps. And each time you're making advancement, your joy increases exponentially. And by the way, it doesn't go away. Meaning, once you've attained these different stages of Krishna consciousness, the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness stays resident in your mind and your body. It's like embers in a fire. If you build a barn fire or a large fire, and it's full force, then you feel heat, and it's raging, but then toward the evening, it may just have embers left. But those embers can become the fire for the next day. And similarly, once you've attained a certain level of proficiency in Krishna consciousness, that's it. The embers never go cold. The fire can either rage sometimes, or it just goes into a nice ember state. Okay. In other words, you're living your life. You have a deep feeling of love for Krishna, but it's not a raging, ecstatic love where you can't control yourself because you're so much in love. But your heart is one with Krishna. Then you may find all of a sudden you're purposely thinking about Krishna, and then the embers begin to grow. you start to chant your rounds again, and the embers begin to grow into the fire. You may associate with other devotees, you may go to a program, you may chant, out on the street if you're so inclined, or read a book about Krishna, go to the temple, see the deity, or see the deity in your home and serve. Any of these activities can serve to stimulate the embers that have now found their way in your heart to conflagrate or to become large. And that's a beautiful thing. So you're constantly going to have Krishna's association in your heart. And there's nothing else like it. And this comes about through the daily practice of chanting. It builds. Chanting is not such that when you start each day, you're starting new. The vibration that you gained by chanting yesterday is added to your spiritual bank account, so that the next day you are not starting from zero, you're starting from where you ended up the day before, and then that's added to the day before, to the day before, the day before. So it's basically building, and that's how it works. And that's why you come eventually to a point in your life and in your practice, what we call the tipping point or the inflection point. At that point, there's so much chanting under your belt and so much devotion that Krishna cannot but come into your heart and fully manifest himself to you. And because you have stuck to the process, you've reached the tipping point or the inflection point. And that's why it's important to stick with the process. Don't jump around, don't give up, don't find difficulty. Conquer the tendency to be lazy and do your devotional service. It's very, very, very important. Otherwise, you may have to come back again next life just to finish up what you could have finished up in this life. So once having attained some steadiness in the practice of Krishna consciousness, the sky is the limit. Krishna is so amazing. It's really hard to envision or identify or envision or understand, just how amazing Krishna consciousness really is. Because some of the things I can say won't make sense, but I will say this that's, I think, quite interesting. If you study the books of Srila Prabhupada, you will find that Krishna is a very relationship-oriented God. He is very relationship-oriented, and you will find him and yourself in a relationship with Krishna. And it will feel perhaps like you've always been in this relationship. But you will know him through relationship. So you may say, oh, Krishna is my husband, or Krishna is my lover, or Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my son. There's going to be a familial sense, because that is how Krishna is. You're not going to see or feel Krishna, oh my God, this is Krishna God. He's so powerful and so so much full of, he's so overwhelming. You will not feel that. You will feel more of family connection to Krishna. And it's quite amazing, because here I am and you, and we really don't know anything about God. And now we're coming into knowing about him, and how odd that he's really likes to feel himself to be a family member or have a relationship with us. And yet that's exactly what Krishna likes. He likes to be someone's cousin, brother, lover, cowherd boyfriend. He really relishes having a relationship, and it's not artificial. You can't artificially assume the relationship. It's something that is that grows organically through the process of Krishna consciousness. It's something that is organic. No one knows your relationship with Krishna other than you. You will know it, because after some time in the more advanced stages of Krishna consciousness, you're just going to feel it. You're going to say, oh my God, this is how I love Krishna. This is how I love him. That is your rasa. That is your relationship. And you will best be able to remember Krishna from moment to moment to moment by remembering your relationship. What is that relationship? And so as you're chanting your japa every day, you're going to have a relationship with Krishna. And sometimes you're just going to feel like you want to cry. You're going to feel, your heart is going to feel so happy. Oh my God, I have a relationship with the most beautiful person. He's the most friendly, wonderful person in the world. And sometimes you just want to cry. Or sometimes you just want to bury your head like on the ground over and over, offering obeisances to the Lord, because you're so happy that you found your best friend. There's so many superlatives we could use to describe the joy of devotion to Krishna, but it's for you to discover it. It's for us to discover it. Why? Someone will ask, well, why are we here? Why are we here then? If it's why didn't Krishna just give it to us? And that question, within that question is also the answer, because God is not cheap. And this is what Krishna wants us to understand. Prabhupada has explained to us that Krishna consciousness means loving God, the freedom, the choice to love Krishna or not. And love, Prabhupada explains, is voluntary. So right now in the material world, everyone is experiencing the pain of material life. And so as we are endeavoring to spread Krishna consciousness and the message people are hearing for the first time, they are now being given an alternative to sense gratification and to the poison of material life. So by taking up Krishna consciousness and rejecting the poison of material life, you'll be able to weigh the choice, the difference, and see the difference. And this is what Krishna wants. He wants that we appreciate him. He wants us to say, oh my goodness, Krishna is so far about better than what I've been doing. I would rather devote myself to Krishna than to myself in the material world. He wants us to see clearly the difference between narcissism, self-love, and loving him. Satisfying our senses versus satisfying Krishna. That is what, and if we don't want to do that, then we have all the freedom in the world to stay here in the material world and continue doing what we're doing. Now, as Vaishnavas and devotees of Krishna, we, of course, don't want anyone to stay in the material world. We have a compassionate nature, and our nature is to distribute Krishna consciousness and the message of Lord Krishna, and to encourage people to get out of the material world, because it's not a place for happiness or joy. But if someone wants to stay here, now who will want to stay in the material world? Not a place to stay. So we need to know that there's an alternative, and that is the message of Krishna consciousness. And Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, having spoken to you this knowledge, you do what you want. Now, Arjuna, you can decide if you'd like to stay in the material world, that is your choice, or do you want to be my devotee and follow my instructions? That is the choice that we are being given, just like Arjuna. And hopefully, if we're given the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness, we will take it seriously. We will realize it is in our best interest to surrender to Krishna and to make him the love of our life. It is in our best interest. So ask yourself, how much happiness do you have in the material world? How much real happiness do you have? How much happiness do you have from your food, from your sex life, from your liquor, from your drugs, from your money, from your bank account, from your wife, your children? How much your sports, how much happiness is really there? And when you wake up in the morning and you feel yourself growing older, how much happiness do you really have? And you say to yourself, today I'm going to do such and such and such, but you've done it before. And if you're doing something new, you almost intuitively know it's going to turn out to be crappy. How many times do we have to do the same things or slightly different things over and over and over to finally realize it's not satisfying the spiritual self? So when you're given an opportunity to take up Krishna consciousness, yeah, it's different. It's not a cakewalk because we're addicted. It's a bad addiction right now that we have in this material world for material things. It is an addiction. If you are addicted to alcohol, it is not pleasant to overcome it. You have to go through some period of dryness. You have to give it up. And during that period, you may get sick. You may feel sick even from not drinking alcohol. But once your body is cleared of that chemical, you're going to feel happy. You know it. And it's the same thing with Krishna consciousness. We're restricting ourselves from unlimited desire to enjoy, and we're trying to devote our energies to serving God. So there's going to be a period of uncomfortability, and we need to understand that. And it's worth it. It's worth going through whatever discomfort we may feel, because Krishna consciousness is natural. It's not artificial, which means once we understand it and taste it, we will realize that this is our real life. This is the best life. And not only that, being a devotee of Krishna, you will experience so much joy and happiness and see so much from this practice of devotion that death will no longer be something that you fear. Because as sure as death, they say, every single one of us is going to die. We're going to give up these bodies, the attachments, the money, the house, all the endeavor that we have made is gone. And not only that, we won't even remember this life in the next life. We won't even remember. So whether you believe in the next life or not, you must accept that at the point of death, everything is given away. You can't even hold on to the shirt on your back. So what, therefore, are we striving so hard for the new car, the new home, the new this, the new that? Does it make sense? We have to balance our thinking with reality. This practice of Krishna consciousness will allow us to keep our home, our car, our wife, our children, our job. Just make Krishna the center. Then everything will work itself out. Guidance will come, spiritual potency will come, power will come, detachment, proper detachment will come. In other words, we can live in a big house, but not be overwhelmingly attached to it. That's the point. We can have a beautiful wife or a very wonderful husband, but not be overly attached. Krishna consciousness is a way, it will straighten our vision out. It will straighten us out. It will balance us so that we can go through life in a very balanced and joyful and inner prosperous way without constantly desiring more and more and more and more. That is one of the beautiful things about Krishna consciousness. And then over time, because of your persistency in chanting on your beads, you're going to find, hey, I don't want to go out today and go play baseball or golf or tennis, or I don't want to go out and just go shopping. I literally would like to chant extra rounds this afternoon. Now, normally you chant in the morning, early in the morning is the best time to chant. But when you're more advanced, it's a joy to chant. You look forward to closing your door and having your deities there and sitting and chanting Krishna's name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The mantra just rolls off your tongue. You're in a relationship with Krishna, the supreme God, who's beyond time, beyond space, who's got an ever-present, ever-beautiful body. There's not even the slightest bit of unhappiness in Krishna. And you and I are beginning to associate with the Supreme Lord in that way, realizing his potency of joy and happiness. So why am I going to go find happiness elsewhere? I'd rather live a simple life, not eat too much, not eat too little, not sleep too much, not sleep too little. In fact, if I'm going to err, I'd rather err on the side of eating less and sleeping less and using my time for Krishna consciousness. I don't need to be eating all the time. Neither do you. I don't need to be sleeping all the time. I need to be actively engaged in devotional life. And the more I'm thinking this way and the more I'm engaged, the less I want to eat, the less I want to sleep. Because eating for the body is kind of an encumbrance. It's okay to eat, you need to eat, but you don't make a life of eating. It's okay to sleep, you need to sleep, but you don't make a life of sleeping. Those are bodily functions, and we're not the body. You don't want to make a life of that. That's such a dull, unhappy life. Make your life spiritual. Use your God-given energy. The little bit that you've been given, you want to make those embers grow into a fire of devotional love for Krishna. That's where the happiness is. It's like developing a muscle, but you're developing your muscle of bhakti, devotion to God. In this way, Krishna will come into our life. He will descend into our life, into our spirit, into our soul. He will show himself to our soul, and you will have this transcendental vision, relationship, emotional attachment to Krishna, like nothing else compares. It's so special, so unique, so wonderful. And like I said, once this feeling arrives in your heart and your karma has been dissolved, not only will your karma not come back, but neither will this emotional love for Krishna go away. You can take Krishna with you everywhere. And you can chant wherever you are, you can chant Hare Krishna. You have your beautiful new life ahead of you. A new life, a second awakening, a second life, they call it. A new life, Brahman, spiritual life. So you really want to practice your devotional life on a steady basis. You know, give yourself in this devotional life. The one life, Prabhupada says. So in this one lifetime, learn to become steady bhakta or devotee of Krishna in this one life. And you will see amazing changes take place to you and all your family members. Everyone will benefit by becoming an associate of Lord Krishna. Until next time, thank you for listening, and may you have a beautiful meditation. You're chanting japa, try to increase it, try to be steady, and we will see you soon. Hare Krishna.